Edgar Cayce uncovered, through his recorded readings, that the soul selects its life conditions prior to incarnation in order to achieve a particular spiritual mission. In his vast body of work, consisting of over 14,000 documented sessions, he illustrated that many individuals live without a connection to their authentic purpose. However, there are clear indicators when someone is in harmony with their soul's calling. The AR archives note that Cayce consistently emphasized that soulless incarnations are not coincidental. Each life embodies what he termed a spiritual ideal, a fundamental lesson or service that the soul is meant to fulfill. What astonished even his closest colleagues about this principle was the depth of its implications. Cayce disclosed that souls willingly choose their life experiences, encompassing hardships and obstacles, as these moments offer essential opportunities for spiritual growth aligned with their intended purpose. Therefore, your existing challenges are not mere punishments or random occurrences. They constitute the spiritual lessons your soul has deliberately sought. Today, I will share the 9 clear indicators from Cayce's recorded work that demonstrate you are fulfilling your soul's genuine purpose. These are not contemporary interpretations. Rather, they are consistent patterns that Cayce recognized repeatedly in his psychic readings, validated over years of documented cases at the Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach. Listen closely to that subscribe button, as the insights shared here could revolutionize your perception of your spiritual path and the reasons for your existence at this specific point in time. The initial indication that you are in harmony with your soul's purpose is what Cayce referred to as the healing presence phenomenon. During his readings, Cayce consistently noted that individuals who were following their spiritual mission naturally became channels for healing energy, even if healing wasn't their main focus or conscious goal. He explained that once a person aligns with their soul's purpose, they begin to resonate at what he called the Christ consciousness frequency. This concept is not about religious beliefs, but rather a spiritual principle. He discovered a common thread throughout all his readings, irrespective of an individual's religious beliefs or background. However, this concept extends far beyond what one might anticipate. Individuals resonating at this frequency inherently facilitate healing in others merely by being present. As mentioned in recorded teachings from Virginia Beach, Cayce clarified that this healing presence transcends just physical issues. Those who are in tune with their purpose transform into what he referred to as spiritual catalysts, aiding others in recalling their spiritual essence through subtle, unconscious influence. In his medical teachings, Cayce consistently illustrated that a person's spiritual alignment has a direct impact on their physical well-being. He explained that illness frequently arises from a disconnect in spirituality, and that when individuals discover their genuine purpose, their physical bodies start to operate in a more balanced manner. This concept goes beyond mere positive thinking. Cayce referred to it as the inherent consequence of spiritual laws at work. What adds to the significance of this is the following. The work documented by Cayce indicates that this healing energy extends beyond those in close proximity to individuals aligned with purpose. He referred to this phenomenon as spiritual ripples, which can influence people from afar, including individuals the person has never encountered. The second indicator pertains to what Cayce described as the manifestation of ideals. Throughout his philosophical teachings, he emphasized that souls fulfilling their purpose witness a growing alignment between their spiritual ideals and their everyday experiences. Cayce characterized spiritual ideals as the supreme spiritual principles that a soul opts to embody during each lifetime. These are not merely goals or aspirations. Instead, they represent spiritual attributes such as love, patience, service, or wisdom that the soul dedicates itself to nurturing through life experiences. As outlined in his documented research, when an individual genuinely embraces their soul's purpose, their actions, thoughts, and situations start to mirror these selected ideals with greater clarity and consistency. What was once a struggle transforms into a natural expression. This concept becomes even more significant when considering that Cayce explained this alignment fosters what he referred to as karmic acceleration, where the soul undergoes swift spiritual growth due to heightened learning experiences, though this acceleration may not always be easy. Cayce frequently indicated that souls aligned with their purpose tend to encounter more significant challenges rather than fewer, as their spiritual growth equips them to manage greater spiritual responsibilities. The third indicator is an increase in intuitive guidance, which he referred to as alignment with universal energies. In his readings, he repeatedly emphasized that those aligned with their purpose forge a deeper connection to what he described as the divine inner self. According to Cayce's recorded teachings, every soul possesses access to boundless wisdom through correct attunement with spiritual energies. This capacity is not an exclusive psychic gift meant for a select group. Every soul possesses this inherent spiritual legacy, yet many remain oblivious to it. Individuals who align with their purpose often cultivate this sensitivity, gaining insights through dreams, meditation, and an intuitive understanding that becomes more precise and beneficial over time. Cayce introduced particular techniques for nurturing this sensitivity, such as daily meditation, studying dreams, and what he referred to as the spiritual application of the guidance received. However, Cayce made a monumental discovery regarding spiritual growth. The guidance received by individuals aligned with their purpose invariably encourages them to focus on serving others rather than pursuing personal gain. Cayce emphasized that genuine spiritual guidance fosters the well-being of all souls, rather than just serving personal interests. In his recorded works, he explained that individuals who are in harmony with their purpose experience a form of guidance he referred to as step-by-step direction, where each spiritual lesson, if embraced, seamlessly leads to further insights and chances for service. The fourth indicator pertains to what Cayce labeled service magnetism. His writings indicate that those aligned with their true purpose inherently draw in opportunities to help others by utilizing their distinctive spiritual skills and abilities. Cayce repeatedly asserted that service is not merely an action we undertake, but a state of being we embody. When individuals are in tune with their soul's purpose, they often discover that opportunities to serve arise unexpectedly and spontaneously, frequently in manners they didn't foresee, and always resonating with their highest spiritual abilities. This magnetism functions according to what Cayce referred to as spiritual law. In the spiritual dimension, like draws to like, meaning that souls devoted to service naturally draw in situations and individuals that facilitate a deeper expression of service. However, it's important to note a key aspect of how this service magnetism works. According to Cayce's insights, genuine service opportunities frequently come masked as issues or challenges that require resolution. A soul that is in tune with its purpose perceives these noticeable challenges as spiritual tasks and addresses them through what Cayce referred to as creative spiritual application. The fifth indicator, which Cayce described, is the cultivation of patience through divine timing. In his discussions on spiritual development, he consistently highlighted that purpose-driven souls aim to align with what he termed God's timing, rather than imposing their personal desires. Archive resources from the ARE indicate that Cayce believed impatience is a key sign that an individual is acting from their ego rather than their soul's true purpose. The ego craves instant gratification and acknowledgement. The soul comprehends that spiritual growth adheres to inherent spiritual laws and cannot be expedited. Individuals in tune with their spiritual purpose cultivate what he termed active patience, engaging in their service duties while having faith in divine timing for the results. This approach is not about idly waiting. Instead, it involves a steady application of spiritual principles, all while maintaining a detachment from specific outcomes or timelines. Cayce's documented findings indicate that divine timing frequently presents itself as what seems to be delays or challenges. Yet these perceived obstacles actually serve as periods of spiritual preparation, ensuring that the soul is equipped for greater responsibilities and opportunities for service. Now, here's a noteworthy insight from Cayce's work that even astounded his most devoted followers. The sixth indicator pertains to what Cayce referred to as conscious karma balancing. In his life readings, he consistently revealed that souls fulfilling their purpose are engaged in actively addressing karmic debts from earlier incarnations via service and spiritual development in their current lives. According to Cayce, karma should not be perceived as punishment, but rather as a form of spiritual learning. Each soul gathers both positive and negative karma through its actions, thoughts, and intentions over various lifetimes. Those who are aligned with their purpose see challenging situations as chances to reconcile past actions and enhance their spiritual growth. Based on his recorded insights, this karmic equilibrium frequently reveals itself through a readiness to assist those who have suffered due to the soul's actions in earlier lifetimes. Although the conscious mind may not recall these past connections, this fundamentally alters our interpretation of life's obstacles. Rather than perceiving hardships as unjust or arbitrary, souls attuned to their purpose view them as exactly what is necessary for their spiritual progress. They tackle these challenges with what Cayce referred to as spiritual curiosity, inquiring into the spiritual lessons or opportunities for service that each circumstance presents. Cayce's readings consistently indicated that souls adopting this viewpoint undergo enhanced spiritual development and expand their ability to support others while navigating similar trials. The seventh indicator is what Cayce referred to as expanded consciousness access. Throughout his philosophical discussions, he consistently emphasized that souls in harmony with their purpose gradually gain access to what he called the Akashic records, which serve as the spiritual archive of all soul experiences across time. Based on Cayce's recorded teachings, this access doesn't manifest as intense psychic occurrences, but rather as a slow growth in understanding, wisdom, and spiritual insight that supports the soul's service. He clarified that the Akashic records are not a tangible library, but a spiritual realm where all knowledge, experiences, and wisdom reside. Souls that align with their purpose are inherently tuned to this realm because their spiritual frequency resonates with its vibration. This broadened access reveals itself through a greater comprehension of spiritual principles, enhanced empathy for the challenges faced by others, and a sharper awareness of the spiritual dynamics at play in everyday situations. However, what adds even more importance to this access is the notion that Cayce introduced. With an expanded consciousness comes heightened spiritual accountability. Individuals who attain deeper spiritual insights are anticipated to utilize this knowledge to assist in the spiritual development of others, rather than for their own gain or acknowledgement. The eighth sign pertains to what Cayce referred to as the acceptance of spiritual responsibility. During his explorations, He noted that souls aligned with their purpose inherently embrace a greater level of responsibility for both their spiritual development and their impact on others. Cayce emphasized that spiritual awakening brings about what he referred to as spiritual accountability. Individuals living in alignment with their soul's purpose are aware that their thoughts, words, and actions bear spiritual significance, affecting not only themselves, but also all those they meet, even in passing encounters. This sense of responsibility goes beyond personal conduct and encompasses what Cayce identified as spiritual stewardship. Souls aligned with their purpose recognize that they are temporary custodians of spiritual gifts, talents, and opportunities, which must be utilized for the collective spiritual growth of all. Based on his recorded insights, the embrace of spiritual responsibility is evident through heightened conscientiousness across various facets of life, encompassing personal relationships, professional endeavors, and community participation. However, there is an even more profound aspect of this principle. According to Cayce's findings, spiritual responsibility encompasses what he referred to as vibrational accountability. Each thought and feeling we experience contributes to the spiritual environment surrounding us, impacting the spiritual well-being of others, often without our awareness. Souls aligned with purpose gradually become aware of this ongoing spiritual influence and learn to sustain what Cayce described as constructive spiritual vibrations, fostering healing, tranquility, and spiritual development in those they interact with. The ninth and most significant sign, as described by Cayce, is what he termed conscious co-creation with divine will. His extensive research indicates that souls that are truly in sync with their purpose can differentiate between personal will and divine will, opting to align their actions and desires with spiritual principles instead of ego-driven aims. Cayce repeatedly emphasized that this alignment fosters what he referred to as spiritual abundance, in which an individual's authentic needs are fulfilled through working in harmony with universal spiritual laws, rather than through personal effort or manipulation. This co-creation reflects not passive acceptance, but an active collaboration with spiritual forces. Cayce believed that divine will functions through human consciousness when it resonates with spiritual ideals such as love, service, and wisdom. In his recorded discussions on spiritual growth, Cayce articulated that this co-creation emerges as a growing alignment between the spiritual ideals of the soul, its acts of service, opportunities, and the circumstances of life. All elements start to collaborate to further the soul's spiritual purpose. However, the key point about this co-creation that Cayce stressed in his teachings is that divine will is not distinct from human will, provided that human will is correctly aligned. He suggested that our most profound spiritual longings truly stem from our soul's link to divine consciousness. When we connect with our authentic spiritual essence, our individual will aligns naturally with the divine will. This alignment fosters what Cayce referred to as effortless service, where spiritual actions flow without strain or conflict, allowing the soul to find profound satisfaction irrespective of outside acknowledgement or recompense. Here are some steps to help you identify these signs in your own life, drawing from Cayce's recorded teachings and the practical approaches he advocated for spiritual advancement. Begin by reflecting on whether your everyday actions inherently support healing and spiritual growth in others, even if that's not your explicit goal. According to Cayce, souls aligned with purpose unintentionally become agents of spiritual healing simply by embodying their spiritual principles. Observe how individuals react to your presence. Do they appear more at ease, optimistic, or more attuned to spiritual matters after spending time with you? Are they more willing to open up about personal challenges or spiritual inquiries they typically wouldn't share with others? Additionally, pay attention to whether your spiritual values are becoming more distinctly articulated and consistently reflected in your decisions and actions. According to Cayce's research, this clarity tends to grow as the alignment with your true purpose becomes stronger. Cayce suggested the practice of consistent self-reflection, encouraging individuals to evaluate whether their daily decisions align with their highest spiritual values, or if they are sacrificing those principles for short-term ease or benefit. Furthermore, it is essential to consider the quality of the insights you receive through prayer, meditation, and intuitive understanding. According to Cayce, souls aligned with their purpose cultivate increasingly dependable spiritual guidance that promotes the well-being of all involved. It is advisable to test the insights you gain by implementing them in smaller, manageable ways first. As per Cayce's teachings, genuine spiritual guidance always fosters greater love, wisdom, and the ability to serve, rather than leading to spiritual arrogance or a sense of disconnection from others. Fourth, take note of instances where service opportunities emerge organically in your life, leveraging your distinct talents and interests to assist in the spiritual development of others. Cayce emphasized that souls who are in harmony with their purpose often find themselves in circumstances where their unique abilities and experiences can aid others in overcoming comparable struggles or enhancing similar spiritual capacities. Fifth, reflect on your perspective towards time and patience. Are you fostering deeper trust in divine timing? Are you becoming more open to engaging in spiritual service without expecting instant results or acknowledgement? Cayce regularly emphasized that impatience on a spiritual level reflects ego involvement, whereas a sense of patience signals alignment of the soul with divine timing and law. Sixth, consider your mindset regarding life's hardships and challenges. Are you starting to perceive them as chances for spiritual development instead of unjust barriers? Do you tackle issues with a mindset of curiosity towards their spiritual teachings rather than resentment or a victim mentality? Based on Cayce's recorded teachings, this change in outlook is one of the most evident signs that an individual is awakening to their soul's purpose and embracing spiritual accountability for their growth. Seventh, consider if you are gaining a deeper comprehension of spiritual principles from real-life experiences instead of merely theoretical learning. Cayce emphasized that souls aligned with purpose cultivate wisdom through spiritual practice rather than just accumulating mental knowledge of spiritual concepts. This wisdom is reflected in heightened empathy for the struggles of others, a clearer understanding of spiritual dynamics within relationships and circumstances, and an improved ability to assist others with their spiritual difficulties. Eighth, reflect on whether you are taking on increased responsibility for your impact on others and your role in the spiritual environment around you. Are you becoming more aware of how your thoughts, words, and feelings influence the spiritual states of those around you? Cayce emphasized that this expanding awareness fosters heightened conscientiousness across various aspects of life and enhances dedication to sustaining positive spiritual energies. Ninth, reflect on whether you are noticing a growing alignment among your spiritual principles, opportunities for service, and your life situation. Are circumstances starting to align in a way that supports your spiritual development and ability to serve, instead of creating conflict? According to Cayce's documented insights, these indicators do not emerge abruptly, but evolve gradually as the soul learns to collaborate with spiritual energies instead of solely relying on personal will. The key takeaway from Cayce's teachings is that soul purpose transcends career or external accomplishments. It involves becoming a transparent conduit for spiritual energies to flow through you, promoting the evolution of all souls. Cayce frequently emphasized that every soul possesses the same spiritual potential and the same chance to realize its intended purpose. The distinction lies in the willingness to relinquish one's personal desires in favor of divine intentions, prioritizing the spiritual development of all souls over individual gain. Should you notice these indicators in your own life, Cayce would suggest that you are recalling the reason your soul decided to incarnate during this particular era. If you have yet to observe these patterns, his teachings offer clear direction for cultivating the spiritual alignment needed to connect with your soul's designated purpose. The way forward, as outlined in Cayce's documented teachings, encompasses daily meditation to connect with spiritual guidance, regular prayers to sustain a link with divine intention, continuous study of spiritual principles to grasp the laws of spirituality, and dedicated service to others to practically implement spiritual insights. By consistently engaging in these practices over time, the soul gradually comes to recognize its true purpose and starts to express its unique spiritual talents for the greater good. Cayce emphasized that this awakening represents the most vital endeavor any soul can undertake during its time on Earth. He particularly stressed that this spiritual awakening process necessitates what he termed spiritual persistence, as the ego will resist this transformation due to fear of losing its grip on the personality. Doubt, discouragement, and distraction will often surface. Individuals aligned with their purpose come to understand these experiences as typical elements of the spiritual growth journey, rather than indications that they are heading in the wrong direction. According to the documented work of Cayce, those who endure these challenges cultivate a robust spiritual foundation, allowing them to continue their spiritual service irrespective of external factors or internal struggles. Cayce suggests that the benefits stemming from this perseverance reach well beyond the present lifetime. Souls that complete their intended purpose in one life enhance their spiritual abilities and unlock greater avenues for service in future existences, thereby aiding the spiritual evolution of all consciousness. Subscribe for additional insights drawn from Edgar Cayce's recorded teachings, and feel free to share this video with others who are looking to discover their soul's true purpose. The global spiritual awakening requires individuals who recall their mission and start embracing their spiritual principles instead of pursuing ego-driven ambitions.